What is up, everyone? This is Coach Austin here, coming to you from Hyper Strength and Conditioning with your Nerdout and Workout podcast, where we nerd out, workout, and podcast. And today we're going to be going over Tinder hacks with Rami, aka the Gutsy Geek. We've spoken with each other. We've done podcasts for Coaching for Geeks. Shout out to them. If you guys want to check out Coaching for Geeks, go out and check them out. Rami allowed us to give us his time to go over some Tinder hacks. So Rami, could you introduce yourself? Tell the people what you do, what you conquer.
Yeah. So, hey everyone, I'm Rami. I'm a dating coach, and I'm based out of Montreal, Canada. And sometime around 2010, I had a horrible breakup, and I was single and alone. I was depressed, and I couldn't get a girl to save my life. I was one of those guys that I got really lucky with the girl that I was with, and I didn't know how I ended up with her. And then once we broke up, I was like, oh no, how do I get another one?
It's like, oh man.
Yeah. So, I like a lot of people, I discovered the book The Game, and I went down the rabbit hole of learning to beat women. And I took lessons from pickup artists, from sales coaches, from body language experts, and I did a whole bunch of learning. And then I went out to bars and clubs 4 nights a week for, I think, 6 or 8 weeks, as my crash course, And I talked to about 10 to 20 women a night, and it came out to about 600 women over the course of 8 weeks, right? And I learned how to get phone numbers. I learned how to get dates. I learned how to hook up with them. I learned how to get a make out at a club and get her to go home with you. And then I kept doing that for the next 4 years. I would go out 3 nights a week and just pick up women. And in doing so, I kind of learned the ins and outs of dating. And then Tinder and other apps came out around 2013, 2014. And I was like, oh man, this is a whole new universe. I can pick up women from my house. I don't have to go outside. So I would be playing. I would totally change the game, man. I would be playing Street Fighter or Tekken with my buddies, and between matches, I'd be Tindering and meeting women on Tinder and just chatting with them. And I built out some scripts, full-on flow-charted conversations. My phone would auto-complete conversations for me as I would talk. So I'd put the first word in, and it would give me the entire sentence, and I just tap, and it would put it in. So I could chat with 5 different women at the same time and get conversations going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Yes, totally. And so sometime around 2011, 2012, I started a blog to teach other guys how to meet women. And that spiraled into my business, which is gutsygeek.com, where I teach men how to meet women. And so, whether you wanted to meet a girl for a quick hookup, or you want to meet your future wife or your future girlfriend, the techniques are more or less the same. The outcome is up to you, if you want to use it for good or evil. Although I think neither of it's evil, really. But Tinder is kind of where it's at right now. Tinder, Bumble, Happen, all these dating apps are really in. A lot of people are on them. And so I built a lot of products, including my most popular one, which is the Tinder Playbook, which helps guys straight up get dates on Tinder. It has scripts to follow. It has how to get a good picture taken. It has a lot of do's and don'ts. If you suck at Tinder, you get the Tinder Playbook, you will be good at Tinder.
We will have the link.
Yeah.
We will have the link on the show notes, just letting the audience know. We will definitely have, if you guys want to know where the Tinder Playbook is, it'll be easily available in the show notes.
Yeah, but because you're a cool dude and your friends are cool people, and the people on this show that are listening, I'm really appreciative that you guys are tuning in, by the way. I'm going to give you a bunch of tips today that will help you out. Straight up.
Free tips.
Totally free. Come on.
Holy shit.
You try the free stuff, and if it doesn't work, then you can come to me and ask for a coach.
The first one's on me, man. Cool, man. So going into the Tinder and all this, I missed out on that boat because I'm married, I'm good, and all that fun stuff. But for those people out there, and it's kind of weird to me because we were just talking about it earlier before that we started this episode. It's I'm kind of out of the game now. Well, I am out of the game now, and it's hard to watch other people who are in the game they're just frustrating me. And I'm not gonna name names, but I got some people I know, some of my boys, and even some of my homegirls and all that. I'm just seeing what they're doing, and I'm just like, oh, it comes down to like social, like being social and stuff like that. So, let's start this quest of going from on Tinder to an actual dinner date. So, what's the common thing you see in the beginning for individuals who are using a dating app? Let's say Tinder or Bumble or whatever. Like, what's the common mistakes? And how can they overcome that moving into more of a physical meeting?
Okay, so there are 4 really big mistakes that people make. Ooh. And I listed them out because, like I said, I built the course based on these mistakes and fixing them. So the first one is you're like, okay, I'm going to create a Tinder or Bumble or dating app profile. Let's go. So you get on there, and the first thing it asks you for is pictures. You're like, oh, I don't really have any pictures of me. So you go grab some random photos off your Facebook. You know, the one where like it's like you and 3 friends kind of arm in arm, and then you just chop out the people next to you.
Yeah.
So either your profile picture is like you and you're missing shoulders because you chopped out the people to your left and right, or it's you but there's 2 other dudes, and she looks at it and she's like, which one is he? You know?
Yeah. You're like, oh.
So that's the first big mistake, is you grab a random photo off Facebook. The second one is generic phrases in your profile. People, like every guy that isn't really used to creating an online profile, or maybe who is but doesn't know any better, they'll put like a phrase that everyone uses, like I'm laid back, or I'm down to earth, or I'm easygoing, or like I work hard and I play harder.
Work hard, play hard, bruh. Rise and grind. Rise and grind.
Right, exactly. So all those catchphrases are just worthless. Like if you put "I'm laid back" in your profile, it's like, yeah, great, you and everyone else on Tinder, And then the third one is dudes that like list all their interests. It's like, I really want to make sure she knows everything about me in these 500 characters. So I like Netflix, comics, video games, hiking, music, dance music, salsa. I have a dog. I really like, and just like a list of everything you have ever been into.
That's a lot. Bombardment.
She doesn't need to know that stuff. Like people, sure, 1 or 2 common interests might help, but women aren't into guys because of common interests. They're into guys because of like personality, because of what you can provide for her. Are you a good match? How do you make her feel? That's what's important. And then the last fail and the last big mistake is a lot of dudes are like, they're like, okay, they scramble, they get 3 pics off their Facebook that are just like them chopped off and weird. They write a really fast blurb. They list a bunch of interests. Then they're like, all right, let's do this. Swipe, 5 swipes. All right, I'm done. Great. And they just leave. And then hours go by and they're like, man, I swiped 5 whole people. How come I don't have 5 matches yet? Where's my date, bro? And they're like, this app sucks. And then they just turn it off. And I'm like, dude, you created a garbage profile. You swiped 5 people hoping they'd match, and then you just give up? Come on, man. That's like showing up to, I don't know, the gym and wearing like sweatpants and a tight bro shirt.
Yeah.
And then being like,
oh my God, sweatpants.
And then like Kappa sweatpants and like feeling like you're a real champ,
Oh,
and then you
man.
grab some 10 pounders in each hand and you're like, let's go. And you do like 3 bicep curls each time. You're like, all right. And you look in the mirror and you're like, why aren't I swole yet?
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Like, yes.
Like these guys, a lot of guys will do the bare minimum and expect the world, but you got to do a little more, and those are the 4 main mistakes. So quick recap. It's random photos off your Facebook or random bad photos, generic faces in your profile, list all your interests in the profile, swipe right on like 3 people and then give up. Those are the main mistakes.
Wow. So how would they correct it? They would just have a nice picture of them, like professionally done?
Straight up, like let's say you want to take a good picture of yourself, right? And a lot of guys will be like, okay, I'll take a good picture. I'll take like a selfie in the mirror, because it's hard to take a picture of yourself otherwise.
Right.
And so they try mirror selfies, or they'll try like phone selfies where they hold their phone up at like a weird angle and try to take a selfie where like their arm is super far out. But selfies are not a turn on. So the first step is you get someone else to take a picture of you for your profile pic.
So grab a buddy.
Grab a buddy. Ideally, grab a woman. Because if you're trying to,
Ooh.
because if you're trying to impress women, get a woman to take a picture. They'll naturally know what women like, right? And the best would be to find a woman who is like the woman you want to attract, and get her to take a picture for you.
Interesting. What if
Yeah,
they
so,
don't
like,
have any woman friends? What if they're just like, ah, man, damn it.
There are other alternatives. So the one I like to suggest is you get a picture taken by a buddy, and then you put it online and you get people to rate your picture. And
Oh my
there's a
God,
bunch of
that takes
services
me back
online
to,
that
like,
rate pictures.
Rate a
Yeah.
picture. What was that? That one website that does that. What is it? I remember it used to be like
Rate my pics.
Rate
or
my
rate
pic.
.com.
Oh my God. Okay.
I mean, that works. There are better ones out there. I don't remember the exact ones. I have a list of them, but yeah, those all work. You know, if you don't have a woman in your entourage, don't ask your mom to take a picture for you. You know, get get a buddy and then try it online and see. You can even try putting it as your Facebook profile picture and seeing if you get good reactions. And if a lot of women are like, "Oh, hey, you look good in this pic," then you can be like, "All right,
Interesting.
this is my dating profile
I
pic."
like that. I like
So
that.
that's the easiest way, is to get a good picture. Because if your picture is bad, it doesn't matter how good everything else is, you're not gonna make it. So really, if you're gonna write crappy stuff in your profile and list all your interests, those are bad, but they're not as bad as a bad picture. If you get a good picture in there, you're like 50% of the way there.
So a pristine picture.
Mm-hmm. Pristine picture. And the best part is, even if you look whack in real life, right? You wear like nice clothes one day, shave and cut your hair, like the day after you get a haircut and you're fresh to death, you know, get a picture taken. You're always gonna look good in that picture. So then to fix your generic phrases in the profile, people like to make their profiles too long, right? So I always say, if your profile is more than 3 sentences or 3 lines, it's too long. 3 lines, man. 3 lines, and all you want to do is catch her attention and create a little bit of mystery. So, you know, it could be something like, I don't know, geek gamer and huge fan of Pixar movies. Your mom will love me.
That's actually pretty simple. I like that.
I mean, I'm sure I could workshop it better. You know, I was trying to, like, off the top of my head. It's catchy because she'll be like, okay, so he's a bit of a geek. He's kind of funny because he said your mom will love me. But also he's kind of cocky and he's got a little bit of swag. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can. And, you know, often it's the first question they'll ask you is like, why would my mom love you? You know?
That's a good one.
And so it creates mystery, it creates intrigue, it kind of shows her your personality. And that one I just talked about, I managed to convey like 6 different things in that with 2 sentences, right? Whereas if it said, gamer, geek, big fan of Star Wars, Magic the Gathering, the Pink Panther, dogs,
God,
cats, rainbows, blah, blah.
It's
Like,
all over.
you've told her nothing except you just listed interests. So short profile is best, 3 lines maximum, and you want to create mystery. The whole point of your profile isn't to tell her your life story. It's to get her intrigued enough that if she sees your picture and she's like, I'm not sure, but then she sees the profile, she's like, okay, yeah, a little bit intriguing. All right, I'll give it a shot. And then she goes in for it. You know what I mean?
Ah, okay.
So first barrier is the picture. You want her to be in with the picture. And then second barrier is the profile. If she's not 100% certain with the picture, she'll check what you have to say. And she's like, okay, yeah, kind of intriguing. Let's go. Let's give it a shot. And then the last thing is, don't swipe right on 5 women and give up. Like, swipe a lot. Swipe until you've swiped your maximum amount allowed for the day. And then if you use all the women in your area and you've swiped all the women in your radius, right? Because it's based on your location. Every time you go to work, swipe. And then when you get home, swipe. And if you go do groceries or you go somewhere that's like slightly out of your way to a friend's house, swipe. Because your radius moves with you, right? So if you live, if you live like a 20-minute, I don't know, subway or a streetcar or whatever ride from where you work, then that radius is going to move by a couple of miles. And so it's like a whole new batch of women to swipe on. So I really recommend, like, swipe at home, swipe at work, swipe any places you hang out. Because let's say you swipe only when you're at home, that radius stays small. But if you swipe when you're at work, you go to work every day, right? So it's not going to be like a huge trip for you to go from work to her place or to meet up with her somewhere. You know what I mean?
True. That's true. That's pretty. I didn't even think of that. Well, I mean, I've never used these damn apps. So, like, I don't even half of the things you're talking about. I'm like, wow, that's new. Whoa, that's. It's like shit, man. I was like MySpacing it back in my when I was like dating, dude.
MySpace.
I was like, hey, what's up, girl? That's how I met my wife. I was like, hey, I went through MySpace. Oh my god.
Wow, MySpace. Were you friends with Tom?
I know, right? Yeah, I was friends with Tom. Good old Tom.
I love MySpace. First, you sign up, and the first thing is, "Hey, you're friends with Tom." It's like, "Oh, I have a friend already."
Yeah, it's like it gets you hooked. It got you hooked. Like, oh, the CEO is my friend.
Then you realize he's a CEO and he doesn't have time to talk to you. He's like, I have like 1 million messages a day, bro.
They're like, oh, you're my friend, man. You're my first friend. What was it? Cool. So, okay, let's fast forward this. Let's say they do all the things right. Let's say let's fast forward, do all the things right, because if they want to know about Tinder hacks, and they're just gonna have to get your guide, because I already feel to me, I really feel like you already spat out a lot of knowledge, and if any smart person is listening, like who really wants to get after it, I think with that little bit of knowledge alone could really elevate their game on Tinder, and that's
absolutely.
Thank you for that, Rami. And
anytime, man.
Let's fast forward. Let's say they match. I don't know how this thing goes. Well, they match and they start chatting, and they say they set up their first date. No matter what dating app you use, we're going into now meeting this individual in person. Where do they meet him at?
Man, IRL, bro. Already? They move fast. Yeah, so obviously the next step is you go in real life, right? It's like you're not just going to stay on Tinder forever. Ideally, you want to get off the app as fast as possible.
Oh, okay.
I say 15, 20 messages tops, and then you move on.
Oh, wow. 15 to 20 messages. I don't even know you count the messages.
Yeah. I mean, it's you don't have to count them, but on average, if it's going well, it's 15 to 20 messages, of course, like, hey, you're kind of cool, we're having a good time, let's go on a date. And I always say the worst date you can go on is an expensive dinner date. And the reason for that is because let's assume, you chat on Tinder, things work out, you guys hit it off. You go to a really expensive dinner date. Like, we're talking 3-course meal, $100, blah, 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 with wine and everything.
That's a lot.
You show up, and in person, there is no chemistry. And you discover there's no chemistry after you've ordered. And now you're eating your salads and staring at each other, and you're like, man, this woman sucks. And I have 3 more courses to go through where I got to fake being cool and fake being interested before this ends. Like, oh no. So do not go on expensive dinner date. Second thing, do not go on a movie date. You know how on TV it's always like dinner and a movie? You want to do dinner and a movie?
Yeah.
Maybe dinner and a movie was the thing to do in the 50s, but dinner and a movie is the worst thing to do because you're spending a lot of money and you're not learning anything about her during the movie, right? In the actual movie, you're staring at a screen for 2 hours. You're not interacting. So the actual date you want to go on for the first date is something fast. You want to go for a coffee. You want to go for a quick drink. And what I like to say is I like to schedule a quick drink or a coffee late in the afternoon, 6 p.m. or 5 p.m., after you're done work kind of thing. So you finish work and then you go for coffee or drink or whatever. And if she's whack, you have one drink, you have your coffee or whatever. You're like, well, this is nice. I'm out of here. And you're gone. But if she's awesome and you're having a good time and you're hitting it off, then you could be like, yo, dude, I'm having a really good time with you. Do you want to maybe grab a bite to eat? And then you switch locations and you go from coffee or drink to dinner. And then you grab a bite to eat and you have a good time. You spend more time with her. And if you're still having a good time and it's not too late, it's 9 maybe, you're like, I'm still having a really good time with you. You want to grab a drink afterwards? And you can go for a beer or, the whiskey or whatever. And why am I saying multiple locations like this? It's because when you do 3 locations in one date or 2 locations in one date, even if the date's only 4 hours long, the fact that you hit 3 different settings with this person makes it seem like you've known each other for a long time. So you create intimacy and
Interesting.
rapport. Yeah, yeah. You create intimacy and rapport faster by hitting multiple locations. So like, let's say your date starts with like a coffee, then you go do mini golf, then you go for dinner, then you go for drinks, right? You've just seen her casual in a coffee shop. You've seen her get kind of competitive over mini golf or let's say pool or billiards or bowling or whatever. You've seen her get kind of relaxed and more intimate over dinner, and then you've seen her get a little bit tipsy with some booze. So you've seen her in 4 different lights. So you kind of get a better feel of who she is as a person based on that. And then vice versa, she knows more who you are. And so even if you guys don't talk about really intimate stuff, you feel like you've known each other for a long time just because you've done so much stuff together in one day.
That's pretty genius.
Plus, it's more fun.
Yeah. No, that's.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would have never thought of that. And some people do it unconsciously. Because now that you're going over, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of some of the first dates I had with my wife. It's like we went through multiple locations. We've seen each other, like competitive side, casual side, getting drunk, like partying. It's really funny that you put, because it seems so simple, but I really feel that you're right. Like, not a lot of people kind of think of that. They just go dinner and a movie, and you're like, you're fucking right. Like a movie, you're like just sitting there. Yeah, you're sitting next to each other, but you're just staring at a screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty cool.
Just like the Riddler says in Batman Forever, if we kill him now, he won't learn nothing. And so the whole point of it is you got to learn about the other person. You don't want to kill the date fast and not learn anything,
That's true.
So I always say multiple locations is super important for dates. My girlfriend and I, we went on Tinder actually, which is hilarious because I spent 4 years going to bars and clubs. Like, I'm going to meet a girl at a bar or a club and we're going to date. And I had girlfriends who I met at bars and clubs and parties. But my current girlfriend, who I've been with, for almost 5 years now, we met over Tinder. And then our date was we went for a beer. Then we went to mini golf. Then we went back to my place and we had some sushi.
Nice.
And yeah, so it was pretty hilarious when I think about it because I teach this structure, but I use it as well. And maybe 3 or 4 months in, my girlfriend, I wasn't a dating coach full time at the time. I just had the blog and was selling an ebook. Mm-hmm. I told her about Gutsy Geek and she checked it out and she got really mad. She was like, "Did you write about me on there?" And I was like, "No, I would never write about you on there." She's like, "Are you sure? Because you gave the exact thing, like the exact structure of our date is on there." And I'm like, "Yeah, because that's what I teach everybody." Just, what? I'm like, "Yeah, because I teach this date structure because it works, and that's why it's on there because I tell this to everyone." She's like, "Oh, so you mean you've done our date with a lot of other women?" I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of always do a 3 or 4 places date." She's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Does it work?" She's like, "Yeah, it did work." I'm like, "So why not?" We're dating. Things are good. She's
We're
like,
dating. It
"Yeah,
works.
okay, you're right." But she was mad at first, but then she kind of saw the funny side. She's like, "Okay, I get it. He teaches this stuff." And until that point, she had always kind of thought like it was all a gimmick, like it didn't really work. But then when she started reading about it more, she saw the structure of how I structure a date, how I structure conversations. Like, wow, this stuff really works. Because a lot of this stuff you did on me. And I was like, yeah.
Hey, you got to practice what you preach, right? You got to prove what you do that it works.
Exactly. If you, Austin, you talk about like very specific form for deadlifts, and then you end up deadlifting like a crazy person and like throw out your back, and you don't follow the form that you give,
It's like, I'm not gonna listen to you.
It's like a guy's always like, you always got to deadlift, and you clench your abs, so you hold your back in place, and you don't do it wrong. But then you show up and you start deadlifting, and your belly is flopping out.
Yeah, I'm around back, and I'm just like,
So you always practice what you preach. And so my girlfriend actually became my biggest fan after that. And every time I write a new article, she's like, let me read it. I want to see if I approve. And she reads it, and she's like, yeah, that's good. It's good.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, that's cool because you get like feedback from a female and her perspective, because we're not in their heads, we don't know. And for her to like validate it, your methods are awesome. Like, wow, that's legit.
Like, anytime I had her go through all my products as well, and specifically the Tinder one, the picture part especially, she and I talked about it a lot, and she came up with how to take the right profile picture, like how to frame it and all that stuff. It's a lot of details. I put it all in the course, but basically it's like you want to get a proper medium shot of your chest to your head a little higher. You want the lighting to be a certain way. You want to look a certain way. And so she and I really went over it together, and she showed me good examples of pictures. I was like, okay, yeah, this is good. So since we started dating, all of my products have improved because of her.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, it
Yeah, yeah,
helps to have like a
the
female
female
on it.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perspective. Because, dude, that's
yeah.
awesome. Um,
So the date, let's just wrap up on the date. So when you get on the date, make sure you hit multiple locations. Make sure it's like a coffee date or a beer, something simple and fast at first. So if she sucks, you can bounce. But if you like her, then you can stick around and do something else. Um, and it's really important to get physical on a date. Like, I don't mean like grab her ass. That's obviously that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying start touching her. So like you want to touch her shoulder, touch her arm, maybe give her a hug when you see her, maybe high five her. The whole point is you want to get some physical contact going. The reason for that is because at the end of the first date, it's really important to like get a little bit of a makeout. You don't have to like full on like tongue, blah, 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 you know what I'm saying? Like just you want to get a good night kiss. And the reason for that is because a lot of women attribute the spark to the kiss.
ooh,
And
spark. That's right.
yeah, a lot of people talk about the spark. We went on a date, but there was no spark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the spark that happens when you kiss someone and you feel those butterflies in your stomach, and you feel like oh man, I'm a little turned on by this person. I'm kind of excited. I like them. I can kind of smell them. It smells good. I like their touch. But to get to that point, you have to kiss them. And to get to the kiss, it's weird if you haven't touched each other all night. You've been hanging out for 4 or 5 hours. You haven't touched her at all. There's been no physical contact. And then at the end of the night, you're kind of looking at each other and you're like, okay, will it, won't it, will it, won't it? And then you lean in for the kiss.
And then it's like,
It's weird because you haven't been getting a little bit of intimacy all night. So it's weird to just all of a sudden go from 0 to 100, So you want to be touching constantly and getting touchy with them. And if they don't reciprocate the touch or they're weirded out by it, then it's a sign that probably it's not going to work out. But if they do, then it's a sign that probably they want to kiss you at the end of the night. You get that kiss, sparks are created, you're probably set for date 2.
dang, the setup.
Mm-hmm.
The setup. You just went over like the setup for that. Like,
Yeah.
I really feel like people overlook that.
Yeah, because a lot of guys think, I got to hook up with her on the first date.
Yeah.
Or it's the opposite of the spectrum where I'm going to not hook up with her for 3 months and then finally we'll do it. And both of those approaches are crazy. Like, hooking up on the first date, I'm not against it. But if that's your goal, it's tricky because a lot of women aren't necessarily into it. Some women maybe they have like a rule where they want to wait 2 or 3 dates. Others are just like it's a little too fast for them. And women will hook up with you on the first date, so it's not a bad thing. It's just if that's your goal, then you may spoil a date because you didn't achieve what you wanted, right? Whereas if you have in mind just the first date is just you want to make out with her a little bit and kind of get that rapport going, then date 2, 3, or whatever you can hook up with her. It's much easier as a setup. It's much easier to hook up with her on date 2 or 3 than it is on date 1. I've had dates and relationships which came from me hooking up on the first date. My girlfriend and I hooked up on the first date. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just it was never my goal, right? My goal was we'd make out and we'll see what happens. It just so happened that we were having such a good time that we ended up hooking up.
Nice.
So just always remember you want to make out at the end of the date, create the spark, set up for date 2 and date 3. And then, the date where 2, 3 is where I usually think 3 is a good number because you get to know the person enough that you kind of want to get physical at that point. As in my maximum, I don't really wait more than 3 dates. But that's up to you. It's personal choice. If you want to wait a month, it's cool. I always say 3 dates because date 1, you have like a casual coffee, whatever date. Date 2, you kind of know you like this person enough. You go for like a dinner somewhere maybe. And then date 3, your place or her place. And that way you guys can cook together. You guys can get intimate together. You're already there. Pretty much going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the structure I like to follow.
Dude. That's pretty clean. What amazes me is that you kind of broke everything down to like a science. Like you structure how you talk to people. You structure how you set up the dates. You structure what locations to go to so you can hit certain points. And then you structure the setup to the spark, quote unquote, that all the women talk about. And it's like really that's legit. One thing I remember from one of your podcast episodes from Coaching for Geeks that really struck me. That I truly feel that people and a lot of guys don't really pay. It's actually more so guys than women. For me, is that I've noticed is that they don't know how to set up talking to the woman, like sitting at a table. I remember you were talking about this, like the way you sit at a table, something simple, something so simple, but I think you mentioned like they fuck it up, like they fuck it up just sitting at a table. You fuck it up, like that basically fucks up everything else, or it makes it harder, type of thing. And no one really thinks about it. You're just like, oh, just sit at the table. I'm just gonna sit at the table. So could we go over that? Just like I just really feel that's really cool what you talked about. That stuck with me till like this day. I even told my wife about it. I'm like, back if we were dating again, I'd sit like this, and she's like, well, okay, but I mean, that's fine. And I'm like, I'm just saying, this guy Rami was talking about it, and I think it works. And she goes, well, we're married now, but I'm just saying, I'm still on top of it.
Well, okay, first off, there's two things I want to talk about. So first off, yes, how you sit on the date, we'll cover that right away. But the other thing is, people don't realize that dating and charm and all these things, these are skills. These are skills you develop. And the reason I talk about them like they're skills is because you know how there are some people who are naturally athletic and they're naturally good at like every sport. Like we all have that one friend who's like, he's good at basketball, he's good at swimming, he's good at like track and field, he's good at high jump, he's good at all the weird stuff that you can't, like, you're like, you got to train for this. No, this guy is naturally good at all of it. I had a buddy in high school who was like that. He was, in high school, I went to high school in France, and the way it's structured in terms of gym class is it's 3 trimesters is how they structure the school year, and every trimester you guys do a different sport. And this guy was in all of my gym classes. And he was good at badminton. He was good at basketball. He was good at track and field in the first year.
Wow.
And the year after, he was good at basketball again. He was good at ping pong. And he was good at gymnastics.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some guys are just good at all the sports, right? So,
right.
We all know that
Gifted
one guy
athlete,
who's good at
Yeah, gifted athlete.
And then, so when people go to clubs or bars or they're hanging out with their friends, we all know that one friend who's just good with women. He's naturally charming. He knows exactly what to say in every situation. He always gets dates. He always gets the hookup. And then you ask him, you're like, how are you doing this? And he's like, I don't know, just be cool, bro.
Just be cool, bro.
And for him, it's because he doesn't know how he's doing it, but he's got some natural gifts that he's using. And so just like with athletes, sure, you've got your natural athlete who's just naturally gifted at being physical. But then you've got your guy who doesn't really know, but who wants to, and who learns, and he gets taught the methods. And then he becomes just as good as a naturally gifted guy, maybe even better, because he learns the techniques, right? And so with dating, it's the same. You could be naturally gifted and not know why you're good at it. But then there's the other guy like me who has to learn the way to be gifted, the way to be charming, right? And once you learn the way to be charming, and you see a guy that's naturally good at it, you can actually break down what he's doing, because you're like, okay, so he naturally kind of sits like this. He naturally talks about these things. He naturally touches her. He naturally goes for the kiss. He just kind of knows it innately. And I think it's like you learn it when you're growing up from someone around you, but it could just be like the way you learn by yourself. But it's a skill. The important thing of all this long side conversation is it's a skill. And you can learn a skill. And some people have it naturally, and some people you got to break it down for them and explain to them. But you can always teach it and you can always learn it.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that. No, because I teach the same thing about strength and lifting and all that. And I'm like, strength's a skill, guys. They're like, oh, how do I deadlift 405? I'll never be able to deadlift. I'm like, guys, first of all, that person's been deadlifting for like 4 or 5, 6 years. And they were right there with you their first year. So you just got to keep going, and it's a skill. And they're like, oh, I could learn this? It's like, yeah. You don't have to take a lot of steroids. Or steroids. Yeah. Like, come on, man. Just train your body. You'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah. I totally agree. When I started going to the gym, I was working out in the gym in my building. Like, there was a gym in my apartment building. Mm-hmm. There was no bar. There was just dumbbells or machines. And so I learned to deadlift there with dumbbells. And when I first started deadlift, so like I think there were 5-pounders in each hand when I first started deadlifting. So I deadlifted 10 pounds. And then I got the form down. And then when I moved into my house 3 years ago, I bought a full, cage setup with a bar, the weights. And I started deadlifting. And the first time I deadlifted a bar. So at that point, I was deadlifting, I think, 240 or 50 pounders of the dumbbell. So I was deadlifting like 80 pounds or so with dumbbell. And then I picked up the bar, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy heavy. And I could only deadlift the bar. I could barely do the bar, which was half the weight of what I was doing before. Because the form changes, your arms are turned a certain way. Mm-hmm. And then, but I worked at it, and now I deadlift about 210 pounds at my max.
There you go.
And so I went from 10 pounds to 210 pounds.
Nice.
And so meeting women is the same thing. When I first started meeting women at bars and clubs, I timed it, or my friend timed it for me. I couldn't keep a woman's interest for more than 20 seconds.
No way. 20 seconds?
20 seconds.
What
It took 20 seconds for her expression to change and for her to be like, and then just to bounce.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I would turn them off because of my body language and the way I would start a conversation. They'd be like, this guy's weird.
Hello. Hello, man.
No, I was like one of those weirdos that would just show up and be like, hey, what's up? I'm Rami. What's your name? How you doing? What do you do for a living? How you enjoy the club? I'd just be like bombarding them with questions, and I'd be too happy and too excited. And it was such a turnoff,
Damn.
Yeah. And so conversation is a skill. Meeting women is a skill. And so let's go back to what you asked me earlier, which is how to sit. So when you go on a date with a woman, if you sit opposite her at the table, it's not horrible, but it's not the best. Because when you sit opposite her at the table, it's like an interview. It's like you're interviewing each other for a job, Mm-hmm. And sitting opposite each other is kind of confrontational. And then also, how are you going to touch her? How are you going to high five her and touch her hand and touch her shoulder when you're sitting opposite her? Are you going to be that weird dude that leans across the table to touch her shoulder? No?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Have a seat.
I'm Timmy.
Reach out to touch Timmy.
So I always say when you go on a date with a woman, or a man, if you're a woman, this also applies to you, or anyone who's dating actually, because you want to get physical, right? So the whole point is you don't want to sit like an interview and confront each other. You want to sit at a 90-degree angle. So if you don't know what a 90-degree angle is, it means if the table is a square, you sit on one part of the square, and they sit right across the corner from you. So not across the table, but to your right or to your left. And that way you're not facing each other. Now you're looking at nothing, and they're to your right or to your left. Mm-hmm. And then it means they're easily accessible. So if you want to touch her shoulder, high five her, get some physical contact, you can. And you're sitting closer together too, so you can kind of see how she smells. She can kind of get a better vibe off of you physically. It's not like across the table, And if you can't sit like at a 90-degree angle at a table from each other for whatever reason, get a bar seat and sit at the bar, because then you're kind of shoulder to shoulder touching knees, and that's just as good, if not even better. So always avoid sitting opposite someone if you can. Always sit like to the side of them or side by side of the bar. It's always best. That's why I like whenever I go to dinner with someone, or when I would go on dinner with someone on like on a first date where there was benches, right? Like picnic benches, I would never sit opposite them at the picnic bench. I thought it was weird. I would sit next to them, and then we would chat, and you could touch and be kind of like touchy and weird. And it's because you can't get a 90-degree angle at a bench. There's no
That's true.
Side seat, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So I would always sit side by side at a bench.
So if they go in a restaurant and, they have those tables that are just sitting across from each other, would you encourage them to just kind of manipulate that position? Like instead of like sitting across, like, fuck it, I'm just going to move my chair this way.
I would always move your chair.
Oh, I like
that. Yeah, and the line is you're sitting down and you're like, what is this, an interview? And you just move the chair next to her, and then you start talking normally.
Oh, that's a good one!
Yeah, or what is this, a job interview? And that way, it makes sense when you move a chair. You're not like the weird creeper that's like, I want to get near you.
Yes, closer, my precious.
It's this is not a job interview. What is this? What are we, crazy people? Let's sit like normal humans, and then you do that. So I'm a big fan of sitting at a 90-degree angle or side by side. So that's how you fuck it up on a first date, where you sit opposite each other. Especially some places have tables that are extra wide,
Oh, dude.
Where,
yeah.
like, there's no chance of you getting anywhere near her.
It's a done deal.
Like, and you got to shout across the table because it's loud.
Dude.
But if you're at a bar, or if you're sitting at the bar, or if you're sitting at 90-degree angle and it's loud, that's even better because it's an excuse for you to get closer and talking to each other's ears.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So many good tips. So many good tips. Let's wrap this episode up. You've given a lot of information. We're going to have the listeners run with it. You give us some feedback. If you guys want to learn more, if our audience wants to learn more about what you do, where can they go? Where can they find you?
You can find me at gutsygeek.com. That's my blog / website where I sell my products there. I give a lot of free advice. If you want to just read all the free stuff and see if any of it helps you, you can totally do that. You can hit me up on Twitter at Gutsy Geek. I think I have an Instagram too, but I never used that.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm like the same way with Twitter. I need to get on that.
So, yeah, just gutsygeek.com. Come find me. I'm always happy to chat. You can even find me on Facebook. If you just find the Rami the Gutsy Geek Facebook page, you can message me straight up on there. I reply to everybody that asks me a question. I'm more than happy to help. Because a lot of people out there don't really need a huge amount of advice. They just need like 1 or 2 pointers. So just hit me up. I'm always around.
Oh, man. Any other last advice as we close out this episode? Any one-liners you want to close with?
I don't have any one-liners. One-liners are whack. They're whack. If you want the best opening line is, "Hi, my name is," and you shake her hand. And the reason that's the best opening line is you make eye contact, so she feels like the confidence. You touch her hand, so she feels like a physical touch with you. And you introduce yourself. It takes a real psychopath when you put out your hand and say, "Hi, I'm Rami," for her not to reciprocate. It takes like a real crazy person. Like, you can test this with your friends. If you put out your hand for them to shake it, they can look at it, and the urge to shake gets stronger and stronger, and then they're like, I can't shake your hand. Just as normally socialized humans, it's one of the things we're trained to do. So that's a good line is, "Hi, I'm Rami." And if she's in a group, here's another fun one. If she's in a group of 5 or more women and they're at a club or a bar or something, walk up to them, don't be shy, and just be like, "Whose birthday is it?" And if they don't say it's a birthday, they're like, "It's no one's." Like, "Oh, okay, whose bachelorette is it?" 5 women together at a club or bar, it's usually a bachelorette or a birthday, like 80% of the time. And so the last piece of advice I want to give you guys, just remember, dating is a skill, right? So like any skill, you got to practice. You don't get good you don't become like the champion of track and field by reading a book on track and field and then just run a sprint once. You're like, "I'm the best now." Chariots of fire. It doesn't work like that. If you want to get good at something, you practice it. So if you suck at meeting women on Tinder, no big deal. Learn the right way to do it and then practice that way. Maybe it'll take you 20 or 30 matches before you start to get a date. It's cool. You'll figure it out. But if you get in there, wait for 5, get 5 matches, fail, and then like, "Oh, this sucks, I'm never going to make it," then yeah, you will never make it. Just like it takes 8 years to, beef up your weight at deadlifts, just like it takes you time to get good at any kind of sport or any video game or any game in particular. Dating is the same. It's also a game, and you got to treat it like one. You got to practice to get good at it.
Ooh.
That's all I have for today.
Love it. Thank you, Rami, for coming on. Thank you for everything.
My pleasure, man.
Guys, this is Coach Austin from Hyper Strength and Conditioning with your Nerdout Workout Podcast with Rami the Gutsy Geek. And don't hesitate. Check out his stuff. Download. Don't you have like a free 3 tips ebook thing out there somewhere?
Yeah. There's a free Tinder opening lines ebook.
Dude, get on that, ladies and gents.
Get on GutsyGeek.com. You'll see like a link to the free ebook. Get it. It'll give you some free opening lines. It's like a good way to get started with apps if you're not used to them. And then if you get the opening line in and it works, then you can hit me up for more.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rami, for coming on. I'm
My pleasure,
sure.
man.
I'm pretty sure we'll get a demand for you again after this episode.
Anytime.
All right, guys. Have an awesome one. Take it easy. And I'll see you guys later. Late.